Welcome back to Straight Facts with Man Like Sava and myself, Terry Flewers. Hit the like button, subscribe. Lots to talk about today in terms of reviewing of the Premier League, some big transfer stories on the horizon, and lots happening at Manchester United with the takeover and all sorts. But Sav, Happy New Year to you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Happy New Year to you as well. Been a refreshing one. And, you know, we grind again, don't we? We keep grinding. So, yeah, Happy New Year to you and to everyone in the chat.
Yes, big up everyone there. Let us know what you're up to today. How's the gym going?
Oh, you're talking to me? I thought you were saying to everyone out there.
No,
sorry, when you said let us know what you're doing, how's the gym going? I'm thinking, what's he talking about? Yeah, listen, to be fair, yesterday I started a new, I did the 75 days where I lost 1.5 stone. Put half a stone of it back on because I had a holiday and Christmas. And now I'm going to go for another 1.5 stone now from today, from yesterday. So I'm back in it. I'm feeling good mentally there. Good. No alcohol. All good, man.
I actually try to avoid the gyms in January, to be fair, because it's always mad busy. But there
I don't do gym. I do calisthenics at home. I do my own body weight app. Yeah. It's all good, man.
There we go. That makes it easier. I wanted to start with a big story that's circulating today, and I wanted to get your take on it. And I want to read this to you as per the journalist who put this out today, but it reads, and I quote, and I need to get back up on my screen because I stupidly closed it. I read and I quote, Timo Werner has emerged as a serious target for Manchester United this transfer window, as RB Leipzig are set to sanction the loan deal. The player is excited about the move to Manchester United, and it looks as though Man United, in their striker and goal-scoring woe issue, are going to turn to Timo Werner. Your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, I heard this just now when I was with Judge Mo. I hadn't heard it before that. My first thoughts are, I think if you're going to get the best out of Timo Werner, for me, he needs to play with a really fast, progressive manager that likes to play football. I don't know whether that's Ten Hag. I don't know whether that was, who was it they had? Tuchel at Chelsea. I don't know. He's a funny one, isn't he? He's kind of like the wide version of Havertz in some ways, where you can see there's ability, but nothing quite seems to work. He had the good spell in... He had the good spell, didn't he, before he came to the Premier League? A good spell in Germany. I don't know what to replace Anthony or to give you more pace. It doesn't quite make sense for me, mate, if I'm honest.
I'll be honest with you, mate. I understand that situation. So let me point out, I understand Man United's situation.
Yeah. That
we are flying close to the FFP situation. We have got the new ownership. And it's funny, actually, because he's the new majority owner, actually, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And I only got told this today, and it made sense. It was an obvious thing that nobody was looking at. He's going to own, once he's going to own 29% of the club. No singular other person has more shares of the club than him. But they're coming in. They've got to put a plan in place. They've got to get all their board in place. They've got to work out if they're keeping the manager or not, moving on to somebody else. So I kind of get they're not going to come in January, which is now, before any of the plan is set, and start sanctioning the signings of huge players on huge wages, because you might sign more wrong people. I do understand that. And I think that, I know Man United fans want everything done instantly, so do I, but I get that. At the same time, I think of Timo Werner, and it's just another player who has already absolutely, categorically flopped in England. He hasn't even gone back to Leipzig and been the same player he was 2 to 3 years ago before Chelsea signed him. This sort of, any Man United fan who is labouring under the illusion or the delusion, either which way, it's the same outcome, that Timo Werner is going to come here and do any better than Weghorst did, is absolutely, any better than Reguilon did, is crazy. These players are substandard. However, it is a reflection, a cast iron reflection of the state that this football club is in, that we have a goal scoring issue, and the level of player we can get or we can attract is Timo goddamn Werner. This is an absolute. If that doesn't make you cancel your subscriptions, cancel your season ticket, refuse to buy kits, financially boycott the club until things are fixed. And maybe now you won't do it because the new owners are coming in and maybe they'll change things to make them better. I get, but this is the type of thing where you look at it and go, I want to be a Man United fan, but the best way to support you is to walk away financially and say no more until it changes. Timo Werner.
I think it comes back to what we've been talking about. When you say you look at Man United over the last few years, and I don't know what your transfer policy is. You know, sometimes you can look at a club and think, okay, it's not working right now, but we understand what it's meant to be, right? We understand what we're aiming towards. I don't understand what Man U are doing with any of their signings. I didn't understand the Mason Mount signing. I didn't understand, if I'm honest, I didn't understand the Amrabat signing. I don't understand a lot of what you're doing as a football club. Onana is another one. Timo Werner for me would just be continuation of what's not worked. I don't think it's, oh my God, this is shocking, because this is what you've been doing. But as a fan, I would be absolutely livid if I was Man United and that is the solution to goal scoring problems, so to speak. Yeah.
Mate, do you know what it is? I know what our issue, I know what we're doing wrong is. It's all come out. So there's meetings today between Ten Hag and Sir Jim. And my hope in this meeting is that Ten Hag is either being directly sacked today or they're telling him, we will be moving you on, but you've basically got a stay of execution. A little bit like Pochettino got at Paris Saint-Germain. I remember all the big French outlets in the February. I remember the date that they announced this news because it was the day I went for my hair transplant. It was like I think it was like the 1st of February. They announced that he would be going. And I remember doing a video saying he's been sacked. How's he been sacked when he's still there? And I just thought it's a lot of young people that have never had real jobs yet. Stay of execution. he was being sacked, but it was future dated. And I hope that's what's happening today, because the manager still wants to keep his veto and have control over transfers. And I don't have an issue with some of the players he's signed, but the players he's signed don't suit the system that he signed players for his old system, but he isn't trying to play and coach his old system.
Right.
It's an absolute clusterfuck. And I'm just, as a Man United fan, I'm fuming at this signing. I understand that situation as it is now, but I'm more so fuming because on God's green earth, have we allowed the situation to get to this point? It is utterly.
Who's your director of football? Have you got a director of football right now?
John Myrtle does a job like that, but it's all new people that are going to come in.
Right. So I guess that's the thing, isn't it? If the structure is not right from the top down, then you've got nobody questioning this type of signing. So, for example, if Ten Hag has turned around and said, "Oh, listen, Werner's available. I'd like to go and get him," you would like to think that in the background there'd be someone like a director of football or someone saying, why is this the profile we want to go down?
Why? Yeah.
You know, just why? Like, okay, let me entertain the idea. You want Timo Werner. What's the plan for him? Is he playing out wide right? Are we playing him through the middle? Are we going to now just purely play on counter-attack? What does that mean for Højlund? Like, that's what you need a team for. That's what clubs implement, right? You have a director of football, chief scouts, analysts that all go, hang on, where's this person fit in? It just screams of panic. If we're going to be completely honest, it screams of, right, we don't want to go out and spend money to fix the problem, but we'll go and get Timo Werner on loan from RB, who has played, I think he's played 8 games this season for RB Leipzig, 8 league games, and we're in January. So he's not getting a game at Leipzig, but now he's good enough for Man U. Now, I don't want to be horrible because I know my club's not the biggest club in the world, but for me, it just shows what a massive fall from grace Man United have had. They used to go out and buy the best. Man U would be going out and buying the best to try and turn around a bad situation. Yep. And now you're looking at players that failed at Chelsea. And we say failed at Chelsea. I mean, I don't know how good he was to begin with, but it didn't work for him. He's
He found
not
Chelsea.
prolific.
He did. Like I look at it this way: whether you're an academy player or you're a transfer, if you go to a big club and within a season or two you're moved on, I don't care what you won when you were there. You weren't integral because there's no way they're moving you unless you had a big falling out with the management or you did something really badly wrong. As a general rule, if you're being sold on a year or two, I remember a Chelsea fan saying to me, Tammy Abraham made it at Chelsea. I just laughed. No, he didn't. You don't make it at Chelsea and leave and end up at Roma. You make it at Chelsea and leave, you go on to something bigger. You can't at his age anyway. Like, it's crazy.
He didn't leave as first choice. He didn't leave as though he was Chelsea's first choice and they were hanging on to bat away transfers. They actively went, oh, okay, Roma have come in for him. Yeah, you can go. If he had made it at Chelsea, they would have kept him. Good player, but not good enough. But I don't know where you go from here. I really don't. We've talked about this before. We've talked about if Ten Hag goes. For me, it's more than that. It's director of football. It's scouts. It's academy directors. It's the whole thing needs to be looked at Man U.
The whole caboodle, mate. The whole thing needs to be done. And you know, he's on the front of our thumbnail today, and it's everyone's been asking this question of me, Terry. Who do you want in as your manager if Ten Hag is sacked? Who do you want in? Who's the guy to turn it around? Who's the guy to change it? And the guy I suggest gets laughed at. And it gets laughed at, I believe, due to a level of ignorance, a level of buying into a sort of a stereotype, which is unfounded. And that's Diego Simeone. Because there is a lie essentially about him that he plays very boring, overly pragmatic, horrible to watch, low quality football. He is Sam Allardyce with a bigger club and a bigger checkbook, you know, and a bit more of a tan on his skin. That is what a lot of people kind of perceive Diego Simeone as. Yeah, which is exactly in better shape as well.
Yeah.
Which in itself is an absolute nonsense. I don't watch a great deal of La Liga. But I've watched enough of Ati, and I would say over the years when they've been up against the best Real Madrids and the best Barças, they've been more pragmatic in those games. But against the vast majority of teams they play, the football is quick, that they press well, the ball moves quickly. I like the football. So I look at Diego Simeone, and this is what we need to do. It isn't just Simeone. We need someone who is of a world-class level of man management and experience, but who also is a project manager, because we are not ready for somebody like a Pep to come in now, even though there are not very many Peps around, because we're too broken. You need someone like Diego Simeone who is world-class and is project-based, in my opinion. Then what you need is everything that's kind of going on now. We need the new CEO, which is going to be Jean-Claude Blanc. We need directors of football. It looks like we're going for Dan Ashworth, which I hope we do. I think he's phenomenal what he's done before. Recruitment wise, it's got to be people like Paul Mitchell, like Martin Edwards, who have a great network out there. But then on top of that, when it comes to the new manager and it comes to the new board, we need to decide as a club exactly how we want to play football, exactly what we want our identity to be, and the players in which that fix it. And for me, as long as you do that, it does matter if the manager is successful or not, but it means you can sack managers more frequently and not go off plan. What we have done wrong at Man United, and the reason we're in this position, is because each manager we try to treat as like he's a new Fergie. We give them so much control, so much power. We start to rebuild the club under their image and their ideology, when most managers nowadays are not trained to run football clubs. They're trained to coach the first team and have a bit of an impact and input elsewhere. And we need to fix those elements there. And I know a lot of people, and this super chat sums it up for me from Ray. Ray's a good guy that Terry, I respect him a lot. He says, sorry, Terry, we are going back with Jose if he brings in Simeone. See, this is what I'm saying to you. I disagree, but go on. You answer that,
let me. So I watch a lot of La Liga, always have. This tag that Simeone gets that his teams are boring to watch is from people that don't watch La Liga. It's quite simply people that don't watch La Liga. What they've done is they've seen what Simeone's done when he's come up against a Pep Guardiola, for example, where he knows he can't compete with the football, and he's seen them, for a lack of a better term, stink it out, so to speak. Listen, Simeone gets every player running through a brick wall for him. Yeah, Simeone's team score goals. Simeone's unbeaten run at home for Atletico Madrid is ridiculous, by the way. I saw it the other day. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they haven't lost for something like 24 games at home or something. Like, they just don't lose. They have got a good shape, good system. They've got some really good attacking players. So sorry, big up Ray, but this whole, we're going back to Joe, they're nothing like each other in style-wise at all. We can't keep just lumping managers into the same buckets, right? Equally, I had this conversation 2 days ago on Saeed's channel with Saeed. And I said to Saeed, I said, you guys need a manager that wants a project. Now, the word project irked him. He was like, no, we don't. We need someone that can come in and win now. And I was like, no, hang on. But the difference is we all want to pluck that manager now, right? Like when Spurs did it with Conte and with Jose, win now managers, right? We did that. We weren't ready. We didn't have the personnel for those managers to come in and go, right, I've won everywhere else. Here's what we do and we win. We weren't ready. And Man U are at that stage. I'm not hating. Got no reason to hate Man U. But Man U are not at the stage where you could drop in Pep. You could drop in Klopp. You could drop in Ancelotti. Right now, your team needs a few years of creating a pathway, an identity, an ideology, an ethos. I could use all those words. You need a manager that's going to come in and go, Rashford, see you later. Don't care what the fans think. You're out. You, Bruno, you're out. I'm not picking players. I'm just examples.
No,
right?
it's fine. I agree.
You go. Right. I only want players in who play my philosophy, and we are going to play it from day one, whether it works immediately or not. We're going to play it. This is what we're going to create. Come out and tell the fans, patience. Have patience with me. This is going to take a few years to get this right. Have patience. Trust me. Let me build this. But what the United fans in turn have got to do, Terry, not all United fans, but a lot of United fans I see in chats, they still do very much talk about Man United that you and I would have grown up with. They talk about Man United like there's a God-given right to have what Fergie created for you, and you're not there anymore. You're not there. You need to build that.
I've got a lot of respect for Saeed and what he does. And I understand the desire to, I want to win now. And I suppose this is why I've always had a lot of clashes with Man United fans I want Ten Hag gone. But I do not believe just sacking Ten Hag fixes Manchester United.
I agree.
And I would, if I was streaming with Saeed, I'd say this to his face as well. Saeed, we had this conversation when Oli was being sacked. This notion that sacking Oli would fix us is not true. And there's a super chat that's come in here that said, Terry, with Simeone, didn't we say the same about Ten Hag before he joined? Will he get the tools to run his project? And this is the point, though, Patrick Lynch, and you've hit the nail on the head. Everything I said about Ten Hag when he came in and what I was excited about, I stated, it doesn't matter how good he is, what the football looks like initially, if we don't have a change in how we operate as a club,
exactly,
football people making football decisions, a change in our recruitment policy and how we operate, we don't actually have a genuine reset and a genuine rebuild from top to bottom, inside out, he will eventually go in the same direction as every other manager. And when we won that League Cup last year, we had improved over a short period of time. We had that first burst off the manager, which we've had off other managers like Jose, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when he first came in. But then what happens is the toxicity and the poor culture at the club eats away at your strategy, just like every other sporting institute, business, church, school, family in the world that has an underlying, deep-rooted systemic problem. And you are right, Simeone will foul, Pep would foul, Klopp would foul. If you got a DeLorean, flew back to 1985 and brought Sir Alex in under this current way we've been running, they would all fail to some degree. The better the manager, the more success they would squeeze out. But ultimately, in the end, we will end up in exactly the same position as which we started, because that's the culture of the football club. So Simeone by himself cannot fix Man United. We need a complete overhaul internally. And every time we start a project, we're told it's happening. We're told this has begun, they're doing this better now. And we start seeing the green shoots of hope. but then old habits die hard. And I think once we got past February into March, April, May, and I think the news internally was the Qataris are not coming in, the Glazers could be staying. I think that is when problems really set in. Because I think there was a period of time where we're going to get new owners, they're going to come in and shake things up. We've all got to work hard, pull in the right direction. As soon as that stopped, there was carnage. And that's the biggest job for Sir Jim now, to come in and fix the culture. If that doesn't get fixed, and people want to ignore that, they honestly, the way Man United fans ignore that as the root cause problem at our club, I find staggering, because with every manager, we've had these debates in or out, in or out. Last 3 managers running, I've sat there and said, I want the manager gone, because I think for 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons, I think it's untenable for them to stay. But I've said in each debate, just sacking that manager don't fix us. And for some weird reason, we labor under this illusion that it's going to be okay this time if we change nothing else. And it isn't going to happen. So I said this to Lee Gunner yesterday, and I stand by it. I expect in the first couple of years a system. I want the football to be more attractive. I want to be more competitive. I want to challenge for the domestic trophies. But it will take 2 to 3 years minimum before we're able to compete continuously and on the same level as Man City's, as where Liverpool are now, where Bayern Munich, where Real Madrid are now, because it's going to take that long to clear out all the dead players and bring in new ones. We've seen, by the way, with Chelsea, and I know me and Lee Gunner had this debate 2 years ago, and he said it was possible. You can't build a whole new squad in 2 summers. It doesn't work. There's too much turnover. It's going to take time for us to get back to that level on a consistent basis. And we might play better football straight away, like Liverpool Spurs have. You guys, first 10 games, wow. People were talking like the rebuild was done. All it took was a couple of injuries and a couple of results for everyone to go, oh, actually. So you can improve quickly, but there's still a big gap. There's still a big gap between where Spurs are and where Man City are overall.
You can improve quickly as a club. Whatever club we're talking about, you can improve quickly, but consistently staying there. This is something that's completely gone out of all football fans, all football pundits, everything, board, chairman, whatever. Something that's gone out of football is consistency, right? No one wants to give anyone time. No one wants consistency. You know, if you say like a player signs, I remember like Caicedo at Chelsea after 3 or 4 games, he's rubbish. And you're like, whoa, hang on. Like, can't we give a player a year to settle and get, you know, it's the same with football fans. And unfortunately, it's the same with, if I look at Arsenal fans, because they finished second last year, they think they're better than they are. Man United fans, they think that they should be where they were under Ferguson, just in one transfer window.
Because of their name. It's
right.
Our name. It's
Spurs
crazy.
fans. I'll say the same about my fans. Spurs fans, because we started the season well and we're much better than we were, it's not, everyone's not just happy we're better. It's let's take it to the complete nth degree and go, we're not just better, we're the best. We're going to win it. And it's like, whoa, let's let managers have a couple of years, but here's the difference. Spurs started with Postecoglou, right? And this ties into Man United. Spurs started with Postecoglou with a brand new director of football at the same time, a brand new chief football officer, brand new scouts.
Yes.
So they all started at the same time. Here's our plan. What are we all doing together? Now, what Spurs are going to start to see, hopefully, fingers crossed, you never know, it's Spurs, you never know. Fingers crossed that we start moving in the right direction and that the club actually gives itself a platform that over the next 4, 5, 6 years, people turn around and go, we know what Tottenham are as a club. That fans like me can go, I'm really happy with what we're doing as a club moving forward.
Yep.
Man United can sack Ten Hag if you don't get all that other stuff right, the director of football, the scouts, the physios, the academy. If you don't get all of that right, none of the rest matters. And this is the problem. Yeah. You can sack Ten Hag. You could go and bring in 3 or 4 quality players, right? If you haven't got the director of football, the academy playing the same way as your first team, if you haven't got all that, there's no sustainability. And fans don't want sustainability. They want now.
And do you know what's interesting about it? Well, you're speaking absolute facts, and I'll tell you as to why. Lee and I on Straight Facts had this debate a couple of weeks ago where he said I was being a hypocrite because I wanted Ten Hag out, but yet now, even though back in the day I thought that Arteta was going to go, but now you're saying that Arsenal were maybe right to stick by Arteta. And I said, yes, but the situations are different, aren't they? And we've learned from that. Now, I still think that even with Arteta, may prove to not have been the right decision to keep him. But they're in a rebuild. And the biggest difference in the two situations is this. There was multiple change at board level, recruitment level, director of football level at Arsenal in and around the same time Arteta came in. Just like your example with Big Ange Postecoglou. There was a seismic change internally at the same time. It wasn't just Big Ange taking over from where Conte left off with all the same infrastructure around it. That's where Ten Hag's situation is different.
But by the way, sorry, just before you carry on though, let's just say, as a Spurs fan, I'm saying I like what I see at the moment, what we've implemented. It's very early days. Like, I'm not sitting here going, what we've implemented, every other club has to follow. We're going to win everything.
No,
for me, I just like the baby steps. Give yourself a platform. That's all it is.
And I'm not suggesting that you've said that. I think you're absolutely right. It's as of now, so far, this has been good. But that's the problem when it comes to, listen, if Ten Hag turns this around, then it's the wrong thing to do. Right. If it turns out in 3 years' time, I'm wrong to suggest now he should be sacked, and I don't think he can turn it around. I'll just hold my hands up and say I got that element wrong. But let's not lose sight of the overarching conversation, which is far more important than that element. And there's a comment here. And Miles, I understand Arteta. You don't believe Arteta will never win a major trophy. However, that doesn't mean he hasn't been an important part of the rebuild of your club, because Arsenal, in my opinion, are in a better position now than when he took over. And that is also an important part, the stewardship of a manager. Whether this is in football, or whether it's of a department of a bank, or whether it's the running of a shoe shop somewhere. There's an element within leadership called stewardship. And essentially what it boils down to is, are you leaving that department, that business, that school, that football team in a better position than when you found it? And I think Arteta has played a part. The jury is still out as to whether he's good enough to get you over the line to win the major trophies. But Arsenal felt it right after Unai Emery's failure. As him as a manager and as a club, we need to clear out a lot of the squad. We need to clear out a lot of the backroom staff. We need to start again. Now, whether or not it was right to go with a rookie manager at that time, only time will tell. But I personally believe if you'd have just gone for another world-class manager or top-class to world-class manager 4 years ago, I still believe they'd have fouled similarly to Unai Emery, because you needed an internal rebuild. That ignoring that element for me is unbelievable. And there's a comment that was made here by Miles as well. I want to highlight it. He said, you don't get time in elite level football. As a manager, generally speaking, you are right. But it all depends contextually. And there's a nuance to this.
Context
on the club,
is massive.
Club, size of the club, where the club is, what their recent successes look like. So you are right. If you take over this Real Madrid team and you are not getting results almost straight away, absolutely sack them. If you took over from Man United straight after Fergie and you're not getting results, yes, you sack straight away because the club was left in a good situation. If you take over from Pep Guardiola and you don't start winning, or you're not competitive, yes, sack straight away. But taking over an Arsenal after 15 years of not winning a Premier League in the mess they were in, you should be given more time if there's a rebuild going on. With Man United's current situation, you do have to give a manager time to a degree. But even then, where you're right still, Miles, is if you lose 14 games by Christmas in your second year, after nearly £500 million invested on your say-so, then yes, you have to be looked to be moved on. So there's multiple things that can be right at the same time, but you have to contextualize each club and view each club on its own merit and its own situation. I've said this many times before, clubs are not a monolith. They cannot be judged in identically to each other or put shoulder to shoulder just because of their history or their name, even based on what they spend. You have to look at their current circumstance. You know, taking over now AC Milan is not like taking over AC Milan in 2004 as a manager. The situation is different because the landscape has changed. So I understand where you're coming from, but you do need to this notion of just high standards makes you win is nonsense. You can have the biggest high standards in the world. You have the greatest manager in the world. If a club has no internal infrastructure, no quality of culture, you're failing. Simple as that.
Do you know what? I think it's great. Like when I see football fans debate each other and talking and that, I think it's great that people want to stick up for their club and they don't want to hear any kind of critiquing about their club. But if you want to look at the clubs that are the most successful, it is the teams that normally put in place these strategies. You know, just suddenly buying a few good players doesn't make you a great team. you know, what's the academy like? What's the ethos within the club? What's the culture? And unfortunately, when you look at that, you look like, so we use Man City as the example. Man City have built what they've got now to the point where they've built a fantastic academy to go along with it. They've built that culture. They've built that ethos. So, yeah, if anyone went in and picked up Man City now, you go, you've got to win immediately. But you can't look at Man U. You can't look at where Arsenal were 4 years ago and go, right, a manager's got to be dropped in right now and win everything. And obviously, this is where you and I differ from Lee, and me and Lee gonna always have this conversation. You can have the expectations. Like it's like the Spurs fans that call me negative because I don't think we're going to win a league. It's like, I could sit here all day long and go, I think we're going to win the league. Doesn't mean we will. Doesn't mean that our players are now suddenly better than Man City or Liverpool players. Doesn't mean that we're ready to win it. So I think people have to ask themselves, what do you want your club to be? For me, all I wanted for Spurs, I've said this for years, Terry, right? All I've wanted is a plan. First and foremost, I've wanted to see a plan. Be something. What are we? What are we as a club? And now I can see that this manager and this director of football are implementing something. But it's 6 months in. That's going to take years for the academies to catch up with that, for the scouts to all be on the same page, for Deadwood that's here. Think about it. Any manager that comes in and takes over from Ten Hag, for example, right? How much Deadwood's that manager got to get rid of before they can even worry about having a squad capable of challenging for trophies and titles? You've got, you know what I mean? And that's where Pep is. That's where Klopp is. These are their squads. These are completely their squads that they have built over what? Klopp's had 8 years. Pep's had 7, something like that, 7 or 8, 8 or 9, whatever they've been there. This is their club, their squad, their philosophy. But people want it to happen overnight. Now, Lee's like, I love Lee Gunner. I love Lee to bits, you know I do. But we can't just turn around and go, right, go and make 2 signings in the summer, win a title. It just doesn't work like that. And
yeah, no, listen, I think there's elements of the standards that people have for their club are very, very important indeed. You have to have high standards, but you can't just ignore where you currently are, who your competitors are, how good they are. And, you know, there were, imagine there are certain times in sport where if there's someone around that's just better than you, there's not little to nothing you can do to get nearer to them. But it just becomes a point where it's, you know what, it's imagine all the people that were racing against Usain Bolt. No matter how hard they worked, how good the diet was, no matter what training they did, no matter how high their standards were, in his pomp, it was almost impossible to beat him. That doesn't mean you were not a world-class runner. It doesn't mean you had low standards. It doesn't mean you were a bum or a failure. I think you have to sometimes look at the overarching situation. I don't think Wenger could have done much more when he was competing against Fergie. He was just up against the greatest manager of all time, and it's timing. If Wenger was 10 years younger or 10 years older, he probably would have won a few more titles. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. It's timing sometimes and everything else. But I would say this to Man United fans. Please, please, please remember, it is going to take time. Whether Sir Jim and that are successful or not, we'll get to it, to rebuild. That doesn't mean, though, that you cannot expect the football to get better almost instantly, because it should if we're all pulling in the same direction. I'll give people an example of how badly run we are as a club, and this goes over everybody's heads. For 10 years, our first team football have played a completely different style to that of every other team in our club system within our academies. They don't play the same style of football. How do we ever expect to produce quality, even out of our academy? Is if imagine your whole life at Man Utd, you play a certain way, you get into the first team and it's the complete adjacent style of football. It's crazy. We have some super chats here that I want to throw out. Ray came back to us and said, and not style for his team don't work. Sorry, this team don't work and demand respect. The Diego demands the same as Jose, and he fouled. Diego will go the same way if he tries to rebuild. But Ray, I think what you're missing here, and this is where it comes down to Sir Jim and his team, is those standards from the manager will work if the new owners come in and implement a new culture at the club. You are right. If they come in and just let the club run as it currently is, Simeone will foul. But any manager will foul. Everybody's going to fail if players can't be pushed. Every manager is going to, there is almost no point signing a new manager if we're going to say, well, the players don't want to work hard. That's exactly our point. A reset at the club is needed.
Absolutely.
For any manager to be successful. So it's not even about, I'm not overly against any manager coming in, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not really, there isn't one manager where I go absolutely of the top level, because there's a pro and a con for lots of them. But we need to rebuild the club first. All well and good, Sav. Problem is the majority of fans don't want that because they want to win today, which is why Erik ten Hag is now not wanted.
Yeah, I mean, look, fans can want to win today, but you know what? United fans will be saying it. Chelsea fans will be saying it. Liverpool fans, Arsenal, City, Spurs fans will start saying it the more we grow. Everyone can talk about wanting to win now. Only one team's going to win the league. So, you know, I think that I've said the same thing about Chelsea fans. They need to acknowledge they're not what they were 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, whatever, when what they could do is just add a couple of players to an already brilliant squad and win a title, Terry, right? This is not that team. They need to, patience has gone, completely gone from football. And I get it that everyone wants to win, but every club is spending big money now. Doesn't guarantee you anything. I hear things like, oh, but he spent 600 million, but he spent 500 million, he spent 700. So has every other manager. So has every other club. It's not new. Like people, I'll even stick up for Arsenal here. Like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. Like everyone's saying Arteta should be winning the leagues. He spent what, 750 million in his time, something like that. Mm. It's like, okay. And in that time, how much have City spent? How much have Chelsea spent? How much have Man United spent? How much have Liverpool spent? Is it just, it's not just Arteta that has spent money during that time.
Big money, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
I hear a lot of fans say that so-and-so has got to win. But if you're saying that about, how can 6 managers have to win? It means 5 are going to fail. That means you sack them all. Okay, then who do you bring in to manage all those clubs? Now you sack 5 people. It don't kind of make. I get where you're coming from, and Dean's right. Some people have turned their back on Ten Hag, and when you listen to their rationale, it makes no sense. Mine is more to do with the fact that I think he's predominantly lost that dressing room. I think the rot of the club has set into him, and I want a clean break. I actually think Ten Hag will leave, go on somewhere else, and be a successful manager. This just isn't the place for him right now. This from Patrick. He says, in my opinion, initial appointment of Arteta set expectations. It showed fans we are rebuilding. A top manager would not have been given the same time. True, if there's not a top-class manager around who's renowned for rebuilding or got a reputation of rebuilding, it would have been hard to have satisfied them. And that's what happened with Conte and Jose at Spurs. They just weren't satisfied with what you were and how you were, and that's why it got toxic very quickly. And you've got to get that appointment right. Terry, if Ten Hag was the fund manager of a fund that you were investing in, would you sack him? Yes. I wouldn't have employed him. So if I know that Erik ten Hag, I don't know much about fund management, it's not my area of banking, but if I knew he had a track record of working in a particular way and investing in particular markets, and ensuring that the money's going to grow, and make it as risk, there's less risk as possible, but he came in and started to, first of all, but I didn't want it run that way. I wouldn't go to some, if the approach of my club, my business and my fund was different from his track record, I probably wouldn't even look at him. Secondly, if he came in and I went, I want your track record, I want you to run my fund your way, and he came in and tried doing it in a completely different way, I would sack, and it wasn't working, I would sack him, because I would have employed someone who is now no longer implementing their approach to that market in a way in which has delivered success in the past. So 110% I would. And I think most businesses would. If you've got a CV, Sava, in your industry, if you show your CV off at an interview, go, this is what I do, this is how I work, this is the way in which I become successful, and you get employed, and you're 3 months, 6 months in, and you're completely not operating like that, you'll lose your job. You'll lose your job. It's the way it works. So again, I don't understand. Again, I don't know what everybody's experiences of work is in the chat here, but if you've had a job of any sort of certain level, that's the way the world works. If you don't deliver based on what you say you can do, you lose your job. Ray's back with us again here. He says, first thing for me, we need to sort out is our recruitment, and tired of players failing at United. We used to sign them to make them renowned. Listen, we're not signing bad players only. We are signing players who then who succumb to the culture of the club. Why has every player fouled or gone backwards? And why has every academy player stumped and gone backwards for 10 years? That's not bad recruitment per se. It's the culture of the club as well. There'll be bad signings in that, but everybody's gone backwards. And that's why I don't like the whole, poor Martial, poor Rashford, poor Pogba, but screw Bruno, screw this guy, screw that guy. It's a case for me of, I think they've all been damaged by this club. I really do. I really, really do. I wanted to ask you about Tottenham, actually. You were linked with Todibo, but that seems to have died a death now. There's another centre-back you're looking at whose name, I struggle with the pronunciation of the surname. Is it Radu
Dragusin? Radu Dragusin, yes.
Sounds like a baddie from a Rocky movie, bro.
Yeah.
What's happening with that deal? I've heard that deal was pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with Spurs how close the deal is. The latest from Romano is that we've only made a verbal offer, no concrete written offer, and we're still in talks with the club to try and meet a valuation. Last I heard was that they wanted 30 million euros. We'd pay 23 million euros. It's the typical Daniel Levy game, right? You can't just pay it and get it over and done with. But we'll see. Look, he's a good player. He's a good player, but we'll see if we get it over the line. He's young. He's going to need some time to settle, but he looks a very good defender. He doesn't get booked. I think he's had 6 bookings in 4 seasons. You know, for a centre-back, that's very good. He likes to tackle. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it get done, if it gets done. But it's just strange. It went very quickly from Todibo to Dragusin, and every part of me thinks that's because one is half price of what the other one is. So Daniel Levy will never change on that front. But, yeah, it's positive signs. It's positive signs.
The media are not saying this, though, but I do think the Todibo situation is also to do with Man United and Nice. He's a player that the club wants. He's a player, obviously, that Ratcliffe and his people back. I've said for a long time, the public stance will be, because obviously Man United and Nice cannot seem to be in cahoots with each other. So Nice will just say, and the brief will be, it's because he's not for sale. I do think it's because Man United are going to go in for him. I don't know. It probably won't be until the summer. I think that's part of it, to defend Tottenham. But it's interesting. We spoke earlier about things changing. If you guys actually make a centre-back signing within the first week of the window, that would be, I assume, a welcome change from sort of waiting until right at the end of the January period.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it will indeed. I think one of the things that's always been thrown at Daniel Levy and Tottenham as a club is that we always tend to wait right until the last day of the January transfer window. We did it with Pedro Porro last year. The year before, we did it with Kulusevski and Bentancur. I think more than anything, that normally is born out of not really having a plan, not really having a manager in place that you think, right, these are the targets. Let's go out and get them. Let's start talking to them in December so that we're ready to pounce the first week in January. Now, it looks like that's changed, but at the moment, until the deal's over the line, it's not changed. What's positive for me is that it looks like Postecoglou has identified what he needs, identified who he needs. So, yeah. But listen, I'm content with what's going on. I think it's good. I think it looks positive. But as anything, got to get it over the line, right? You've got to get it over the line. If you don't, all of this is just paper talk. And we tried, right? We tried. So I do think we'll get it done. I don't think there was a lot of planning before at a football club in terms of, we've dropped in Nuno with what plan? Jose and Conte was, come on, do something with us right now. Now it looks like we're building for the future. He's 21. The Dogie, who we brought in, is 20. Papa Sarr's 20. Do you know what I mean? Van der Ven's 22. It looks like Brennan Johnson's young. It looks like we're building something. Hopefully. I don't, me, Terry. I don't blow smoke up anybody's backside. It looks like something good is happening. But I expect it to take a couple of years to really, really come to fruition.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to take time to build that squad. I don't know much about this Radu Dragusin at all. Cal here says, very on brand for this club, but I am desperate for any centre half we can get at this point. What's your understanding of the qualities of this player?
So what? I mean, I've watched Genoa play a few times. I'm not going to say I've watched loads of their games. I watched them play against Inter the other day. He was excellent. Very good in the tackle. Loves the tackle as well, by the way. Like he's one of those defenders, Terry, that, you know, like now in 2023, when you talk about centre backs, the first thing people will go is, oh, but can he bring the ball out? I'm thinking, hang on, can he defend? Can he stop the ball going in my net? He loves defending. He's strong, he's powerful, he's tall. He's got a good range of passing, and I think he looks good. The key thing for me is you've got Van de Ven and Romero. It's not enough. You can't have two. You've got to have some more depth in there, especially if we want to start talking about going and winning trophies and leagues in the future. You've got to build a squad. You've got to have depth and you've got to have a plan. He can also play right back as well as centre back. So it's not ideal. You know what I mean? It's not like you want to bring him in and put him at right back. But look, he's young. He can learn. He can grow. I think that's the point, right? That's Postecoglou's job now. Bring him in, let him learn, let him grow. And it's just good that we've got some competition for Van de Ven and Romero, because Van de Ven and Romero misses, I mean, on average, 35% of football every single season. Don't know if you knew that, right? He misses so many games a season. Van de Ven, it's the second time he's had a hamstring injury, and he's only 22. So you're going to miss him, right? Sod's Law tells you every year there's going to be some sort of injury there. So you've got to have players to come in for rotation. I don't see the big clubs, like Spurs fans constantly, not all, some Spurs fans constantly talk about who does he come in and replace? That's every signing we make, by the way. It's, oh, we want to buy him, but who does he replace? Bigger clubs don't worry about that. Liverpool have got five forwards. They've got about 6 central midfielders. Yeah, they've got 4 good centre-backs. Tottenham have got 2 good centre-backs. And the moment one of them goes out, they're out. So I think someone says Saviour, the misery merchant. I think I've just been really positive. I thought I was just really positive about the signing, about the club. So yeah, I think it's a good signing if we can get it over the line. I'll wait until I see him with the Spurs shirt on. But yeah, let's see what happens in the next week or so. Let's see.
Yeah, look, it's certainly going to be an interesting one with Tottenham. I'm not really judging the player because I don't know much about him at all. But there's a lot of people online that rave about him, so we'll see. But what you said there about the cards is key, because Romero, as you said, misses 35% of the season. It's a huge. Again, if you want to win titles, that's a key component as to why you won't win a title when one of your best players, when he plays, isn't available for over a third of your season. That in itself will stop you from winning. So it needs to certainly be addressed. This here says, which is the lesser of two evils? Liverpool winning the title this season to equal United, or City going one better than United, treble with a 4 and a repeat? It's Liverpool winning the league, because even if Liverpool win this season and next season, 2 titles, at some point in history, we can catch that up. The likelihood of ever doing 4 on the bounce, again, in my lifetime's almost 0, considering it's taken over 130 years of football for anybody to do it. I don't want either to win. I'd rather Villa do it. But if I'm going to pick the lesser of two evils, it'd be Liverpool equaling the amount of titles we've got, because a 4-peat, that may never, if City do it once, it may never be done again. Then also they've got the chance to do a 5-peat, which could never be done. So I think everybody should want Liverpool to win the league if they're the only 2 choices, because City can set a record that may never, ever, ever, ever be broken by any team at any point. And surely none of us want that, but everyone's going to have a different take on that. But yeah, I'd of the 2, I don't want either. I'd rather Liverpool win the league, if I'm being honest with you, regarding that. This here says the Glazers saw the players as assets and allowed them to control the dressing room. That needs to be reversed before United will succeed. Completely agree, Dean. Completely agree. The problem that you have sometimes, though, is I think the manager's relationships with a lot of these players has also been heavily damaged, and because of that, I also think he's got to go. But you are right about the player power element. I don't disagree. Hawkeye here says, Terry, I get what you're saying, but the decisions Ten Hag makes are dreadful. I don't expect us to win every game, but some of the teams we've lost to get. I agree. Ten Hag's also made mistakes. I think that's also a very, very fair challenge to sort of put out there. I don't think it's all just one particular thing. Carl here, back to the Simeone conversation. So Simeone would be fantastic at United. Pure counter-attacking, evil pressing, and a defense that is impregnable. He is an elite coach and a hard man. He likes to build players and loves the academy. I mean, when you say that, that's very atypical Man United. That is the way our club has been for many, many a year, yes. But I think there'll be more than just counter-attack football with him, though, because I've watched them enough to say that. Terry is always against us. So it's not that I'm against Man City. I'm talking about people. Like, it's funny, really, because I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans get angry at other gooners that celebrate when other teams are not invincible. I've heard people kick off at Man United fans when we've seen people not do three-peats and not do trebles, going, focus on your own club. It's low standard celebrating. But at the same time, say that football's only about winning trophies. So, and records around winning trophies. So for me, I don't want City, I don't want any team to achieve a record of winning trophies that I don't think will ever be matched again in my lifetime. It's not about being against you. It's about the preservation of my club, really, and our records and that element of our club. Terry, how can you sit here and let a guest consistently call United Man U? It's the biggest insult. You should know that. Do you know what? I used to believe that. I was told that when I was, and then a lot of Mancs that I know, a lot of people up in Manchester that I know that I've spoken to are just like, what? So my mind changed. Yeah, there used to be a song that was the lyrics of the song were Man U, Man U. It's about the Munich air disaster. And I used to think that. And then loads of men from up north I know told me that was just, they never even heard of it. So I just stopped being offended. But when I was younger, I'd say, don't say Man U, you got to say Man United. And then turned out to be a nonsense, according to some people. But there we go. I wanted to ask you about Arsenal. They're linked in the papers today with a potential move for Martin Zubimendi. The deal potentially for Ivan Toney seems to be on the ropes. Would you be surprised if Arsenal didn't strengthen their squad this January? And because a lot of Arsenal fans are starting to become skeptical as to whether or not they will.
Look, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, you had this situation last year. Yeah, they were in a different position. Sorry, they were slightly different position last year because they were top. And everyone said, right, go on. If you're serious, go and strengthen and get yourselves over the line. And they didn't. They've then had a poor summer transfer window for me. They've now got a chance to, right, okay, we're not doing as well as we wanted to be doing. And we're losing ground a little bit. Right. What do we do now? Do we go out and strengthen? If they don't, what does it say? It says that they're happy with just what they've got. I don't know. I don't know their finances. I don't know how much money they've got. For me, I think Zubimendi is a wonderful player, by the way. Zubimendi is a wonderful footballer. For anyone that doesn't watch Real Sociedad, he's a very good player. Ivan Toney. Listen, I like Ivan Toney. But I was just talking with Judge Mo about this, Terry, and so it's funny that, you know, because there's hardly any strikers out there that are proper goal scorers, he's kind of being put on this pedestal. Yeah. He's kind of been put on this pedestal that he is the saviour that's just going to lead somebody to a title when we've not really got any proof of that. He's a very good player, but I do think everyone's really overhyping him. Lots of people are asking me, they did when I was on Mo's show, saying Arsenal had a poor summer, ? Really? Well, yeah, because you're not as good as you were last year. You spent 220 odd million pounds and you're not as strong as you were last year. So I don't know. Am I wrong? Did Arsenal have a good summer that I'm missing? I don't think they strengthened. I think they kind of stayed where they were. I think everyone else kind of got better and Arsenal haven't really kicked on. For me, they didn't kick on. I think Declan Rice is a wonderful signing. Other than that, what did they strengthen? What? I don't know. Am I wrong?
Well, I certainly think, listen, the Kai Havertz deal, you know, he scored some important goals, but I wouldn't say that he's been hugely impactful. I think one thing that I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans say is the injury to Timber and the situation surrounding Partey has been damaging for them because they would be really integral parts of their team. But they seem to have for me, it's Martinelli and Saka are just nowhere near the standard they were last year. I don't even necessarily think it's Jesus. His overarching play seems to me to be as good. He's not a prolific goal scorer anyway. But Martinelli was scoring more last year, and Saka was just being so potent and dangerous in games. And neither are really, and Odegaard to a degree as well. They're just not having the same impact. What do you think that's down to? Is that because some people have said that it is the recruitment that's led to like an imbalance in the team? Is it the manager now that doesn't want to progress as much and wants to be more reserved? What do you think it is that's sort of slowed Arsenal down? And would somebody like Zubimendi be the answer to that?
I think Zubimendi would be a great signing for them, for sure. I think Zubimendi would be a great signing for many of them. I don't think that's enough, though. I don't think that just one midfielder changes it for them. I look, whatever I say, I'm going to sound like I'm saying this because I'm Spurs, Terry, and I hope you know me better than that by now, right?
Nah.
For me, I just don't think...
Hater. Is it Arsenal hater, ladies and gentlemen?
I just don't think that Arsenal have got enough big guns to win a league. And by big guns, I mean, you look when City win a league title, Rodri, Haaland, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Diaz, big gun, Carl Walker, big guns, players that have been there, seen it, done it. Big game players. I look at Arsenal and I think they're a really good team, but I don't see that from Saka, from Martinelli, from Jesus, from Odegaard. I see them as needing another layer on top of that. I see that they need their Haaland, their De Bruyne, their Mo Salah. Do you know what I mean? I feel like they just need something. Now, I might be wrong, but again, if they don't win the league this year, I don't know. That I feel like they had such a good opportunity in the summer. Can't believe I'm saying this as a Spurs fan, but I thought that they had such a good opportunity in the summer to really go and close that gap, to really go and buy some top players and kick on. And I don't think they have. I think they're the same as last year, but I think everyone else isn't as bad as last year, if you know what I mean. I think last year, City and Liverpool, City and Arsenal were kind of alone. This year, you've got other teams in there with them. Villa are there. Spurs are there. Liverpool aren't what they were last year. So I don't think it's like, oh my God, Arsenal are terrible this year. I just think that they've not kicked on. And if any Arsenal fan really deep down takes off their, oh, he's Spurs, oh, I'm Arsenal, take your Arsenal hat off. Did they do enough to go and challenge? Have they got enough to really get over the line? Because they didn't get over the line last year. Doesn't look like they're going to get over the line this year. I just think they need to sprinkle it with a bit of stardust. They need, I hope they don't as a Spurs fan, but I think that's what they need. I think that's what they need to do. Stardust for me.
I've heard a lot of chat in the last few days about what's gone wrong at Arsenal. I listened to Lee yesterday, talk about some really good things. He spoke more about the manager has actually damaged it with the change to the system, and he wants the team to maintain possession more and essentially be harder to beat. I think there's an element of truth to that. I also just think, and this is something that, again, you could maybe go back and there might be a creator or a journalist somewhere that said it, but I don't think anybody anticipated Odegaard and Martinelli especially having as little impact game by game as those two have had. I don't think people have expected Martinelli to be on 2 goals all season by now. I think people would have expected Odegaard to be opening teams up. He's had some good games, but far more regularly than he has done. Saka's got decent GA this year, but last year he was going on the inside, the outside. He was really hurting teams. He would give fullbacks a nightmare. Those three players have stopped doing that this year, and it could be the system. It could be the manager has changed the system and it's kind of unbalanced the team. It could just be that they've also had some bad luck and they've just hit a point where these three are just having poor seasons by the standards they set last year collectively. Because if they were performing at last year's level, and this is why I get the point of the window was poor, but it isn't really the signings they've made that have made them that are the reason they're at 5 points at the top. It's because those guys haven't delivered as much up front as people expected.
I agree, so, but you've got to keep. I get you. Listen, I get you, but you've got to keep going. I think the key thing is I was always taught this growing up in whatever walk of life, Terry. strengthen from a position of strength, right? And for me, I just look at some of the wonderful signings that have been made from clubs over the summer, and I look and I think Arsenal missed out on that. Yeah, for me, I just think they missed that window of opportunity. And listen, I think it's a mixture. First of all, I think that they really do overrate a lot of their players. I do think there's a lot of players that are good, but not title winners for me.
Like who do Arsenal fans overrate in your opinion?
I think Martinelli is massively overrated. Very good footballer, but people talk about him like, oh, he's better than Vinicius Jr. and he's better than Rodrigo at Real Madrid. Saka is another one. Very talented lad, but without having really done a lot in football, he's put on this. He's world class. He's 150 million. I watch him so much and thinking he's not doing a lot again. And it's again. You watch Mo Salah, even when Mo Salah don't turn up, he turns up. Does that make sense? Even when Mo Salah has a bad game, he'll dig it out from somewhere, you know. He'll find that. Same with the De Bruynes. Yeah? Same with the top players. For me, I'm not saying he can't get to that level, by the way, Terry. I'm not saying he can't get to that level. I'm just saying people have put him there now, and I don't think he is. Odegaard's a good player, but had a really good season last year. Before that, hadn't really done a lot, and everyone straight away putting him on pedestals. For me, I just think they needed to add something new, something fresh, a change in that top four to at least to rotate with something different that will get you over the line. They've still got the opportunity to do that right now, right? In the January window, they've got that opportunity, but it's why hopefully I've been consistent with this. I've said this all season. I don't see them winning the league. It's not because they're the rivals of the club I support. Because I don't think they've got enough in the squad to get over the line. To win a title, you need more than good players. You need know-how. You need experience.
This comment here says, agree, Saba. We don't have the game changers who can grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And this season, there's been a lot of that. There hasn't been enough. Like last season, I thought there was a number of game changers in that team. Here it says, I could literally just lie as well and say Tottenham fans always overrate their players and then just say Son is better than Mbappe. So Lexa here says you're lying that Arsenal fans are overrating their players.
Listen, I mean, first and foremost, listen, by the way, what I love, we talk about this all the time, Terry. What I love is you can't have a grown-up discussion about two football teams without people going, oh, but you're Spurs. What do you know? You're Spurs. Listen, I will call out Spurs fans that overrate our players. I do, Terry. You've seen me get hate for calling out Spurs players and other people going, oh, no, they're amazing, right? I think Spurs overrate our players a lot as well, yes. But we're not talking about Tottenham now. We're talking about Arsenal and why they're not winning a title. And yes, people have come into our chat. People have come into my chat when I've been on with Sean or with Henry. And people saying things like, oh, Martinelli and Saka are better than these. And it's like, but based on what? Good players, very good players. But it used to be a case of, Terry, it used to be a case that footballers had done something. Footballers achieved something. Footballers had done it for years and years and years. They were then put on pedestals. Now players have a good season and they're brilliant. They're 150 million. I'm seeing Spurs fans do it now. Doggy's the best left back in the league. Whoa, slow down. He's just joined us. Romero's the best centre back in the league. No, he's not. What are we doing? No, he's not. Son is one of the best players in the world. No, he's not. What? You're right. So this isn't me against Arsenal. I'll do this against any club. I'll do this against any club, right? I just think at the end of the day, if I am wrong, Terry, and if Arsenal did have a good window, and if Arsenal's players are better than I'm saying, then let's see them lift the league at the end of the season. If they do, you know what? You can come bring me on here and I'll go, well, I was wrong. But we had this last year. All last year, Terry, I came on your shows. All your guests, didn't they? All said this to me. You're salty. You hate Arsenal. What happened at the end of the season? It was true. Because everybody overrates everybody. It's madness. Get over the line, then chuck it in our faces. But at the moment, I think they're going to finish third. I think Arsenal will finish third.
Arsenal coming third, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know what you think in the comments section about that. Well, they currently sit, was it 5 points off the top? Do you think that's Arsenal done now in terms of title race? Do you think they'll be out of the title race now, like in terms of get to that last 10 games and be too far away to have any real impact?
I mean, you can never say never. It's early doors, isn't it? What they've given themselves a mountain to climb, right? Because now whatever they do, they need Liverpool to do 2 worse. You know, what have they got? 18 games of the season to go. So if Arsenal win 14 of the 18, they need Liverpool to only win 12, right? So now you're banking on Liverpool not winning 6 and Arsenal will only not win 4 of their games. So they've given themselves a mountain to climb when I think it was in their hands. You can never say anyone's 100% out of it. I just don't think they're going to be there. I don't think they're going to be top. I think I've not changed my opinion all season. I said this to you day one of the season, Terry. City, Liverpool, Arsenal, the rest. I'm sticking with that. I might be one out. It might be Arsenal, Liverpool. City, Liverpool, Arsenal in that order. Nothing's changed my mind.
Question for you: if Arsenal do come third, is it time, in your opinion, for them to look beyond Mikel Arteta?
Yes. Because, look, first and foremost, I think what you said hit home at the beginning, at some point earlier in the show, when you said he's integral for that first part of the build to get them from where they were to where they are now. But if he doesn't get over the line this time, what do? Do you just keep going? I don't know. Do you keep going and say, right, maybe next year? Or do you go and get an elite manager to come in and win things? I don't know. I don't know. It's not my club, so I can't really say. But I don't know. I don't know, mate. I really don't.
A lot of Arsenal fans are saying he should. I think it depends how far off the top he finishes. You have to throw that in there. But as a general rule, if he ain't winning a major trophy this year, especially if he doesn't come close to winning one, I do believe he's taken the club as far as he can. The only other caveat for him staying is they have to know they're bringing in a better manager. I think they're at a point now where their rebuild has been done, where they can't afford at this stage to go, right, let's go for a De Zerbi, who is not tried and tested at Champions League level at all, has never managed a massive club before, because although the football might be a bit prettier, there's no guarantees you're going to go to that next level. That's the only area where I'd have a question mark over. If I was an Arsenal fan, the only area I would question mark is, are you bringing in somebody that is genuinely better than Mikel Arteta?
That's the problem. Yeah, you don't change him for the sake of it. I just wonder, like, listen, I don't know. Again, this is one where I can't really have an opinion because I'm not an Arsenal fan. I'll ask the Arsenal fans this: if he doesn't get over the line this year, are they frustrated enough that that's then 2 years in a row where they've been talking about a title when he's not got over the line? And do they then go, right, we need a winner? Or do they then go, right, okay, he's learned this time, and you go again for next year? I don't know. At every point, there's a cut-off. At every point, there's a cut-off for every manager. It depends what the Arsenal fans and the board want, right? If they're happy to come third, let's just say they come third, like I've said. They might come second, but let's say they come third, like I've said, right? Are Arsenal fans happy with that they've gone from second to third? It's only one place, but second to third after spending 220 million in the January transfer window, after getting your first choice target, who was Declan Rice at 105 million. Are they happy with that? That's a question for them, Terry. That's not a question for me. I'm happy with that. I'm a Spurs fan. Are they happy with that? I don't know.
And I want to ask this question to the viewers, whether you're an Arsenal fan, whether you're a rival. If you sack Mikel Arteta at the end of the season, who is that manager that is better than him, that in your opinion will be able to get over the line? Chris here actually says Alonso. Now, look, Alonso is 62 games into his top flight managerial career. I know that he was a manager. I think it was a Real Sociedad's B team as well. But that's a B team. If you add those games in as well, he managed 160 games in his career. Maybe that's a little bit more than in and around same amount of games as Arteta, but Arteta's done it at the highest level. Is he really that guy? Again, I think that someone like an Alonso would be an absolutely huge risk. He could be a Zidane, a Pep, a Jose, someone who very quickly, very young in his career, goes on to do brilliant things. But there's also a risk because there's a very, very small sample size. Zidane, again, I personally believe anybody saying Zidane is deluding themselves, because him and his reps and his family have made it very clear they right now in their lives, they have zero intention of coming to England. And I know people say throw money at it. Maybe that will work. But if they don't want to come to England, I don't think you should think about it. Simeone. I mean, Simeone, again, do you think, and I'll ask you this question. I know you're a Spurs fan, but I want you to answer this honestly.
You're just getting me in trouble with Arsenal fans all over the place, isn't you?
It's part of the show, isn't it? It's your straight facts. Do you think Arsenal have the size and the pull and the power to sign a Diego Simeone as their manager?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, the reason I hesitated was I was just quickly in my head calculating, well, where else can he go? He's not going to get the job at Barcelona. I'm looking at big clubs. He's not going to get the job at Barcelona. He's not going to get the job at Real Madrid, and he's at Atletico. So that counts him out of the biggest three clubs in Spain. He's not going to Man City. He's not going to Liverpool. And are Arsenal on a par with all the other clubs? I mean, I don't know. Maybe a Bayern Munich, depending on what happens with Tuchel. But other than that, why not? Why Arsenal? I hate to say it, they're a big club. They are. The Spurs fans will hate me saying this. Arsenal are a big club with a big fan base. They've got money. Why not? But what they'd have to do is show to Simeone that they're serious, because Simeone is a winner. But let's clarify one thing, Terry. Right? Let's clarify one thing. Just bringing in a winner like Diego Simeone doesn't guarantee you the title, because bringing in a winner like Simeone doesn't all of a sudden mean that Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool and Pep and City disappear. Right? It's not like you don't bring them in. You go, oh my God, Pep and Klopp are shaking in their boots. Pep and Klopp will relish that battle. They're winners. They're not going to go, oh my God, Simeone. They're going to go, all right, bring it on. Right? They love that battle. Right. So it's difficult. So that's why I asked. That's why I was asking more the Arsenal fans, sensible ones at least. Would you sack him if you finished third and didn't win this season? Were you? I'd love to know from Arsenal fans, honestly. And I don't mean the tribalism, Terry. I don't mean that we just back our club at all costs. What were they truly hoping for this year? If at the beginning of the season it was, we are winning a league title, at all costs, and he finishes third, do they want him gone? If it was, let's be in a title challenge, but if we finish second or third, that's okay, then keep him. Because one thing I will say, sticking up for Arteta, obviously if Lee Gunner was here, he'd crucify me for this. Let's not pretend that this is an Arsenal team that have been competing for the title for the last 5-6 years. They did last year, had a phenomenal year last year. And then if they do again this year, that's great. But let's not pretend that they were for 5 or 6 years and that a manager has a God-given right to win a league title. So for me, that's one for Arsenal fans to answer. But should they be able to attract a Simeone? I would be surprised if Simeone at some point wouldn't want a new challenge. What more can he do at Atletico?
Ron's here says most will keep Arteta even if he doesn't win the league or Champions League, because he's super and knows exactly what they need. I've got a few more managerial names here to throw at you. I've got a few more. This is I'm even going to do, is he good enough to get him to the next level, or have Arsenal got the power to get him? So this one, is he good enough? Nagelsmann. Is Nagelsmann a big enough upgrade than Arteta in your opinion?
I don't know. Nagelsmann's an interesting one. Nagelsmann's got all his quirks, hasn't he? That apparently some players have not really bought into. No. I'm going to go with no. I think Arsenal need a galvanizer. I think they need someone who's been there, seen it, done it, almost like a dad figure, right? That can cajole, has the fear, but can cajole and put their arm around at the same time. I'm going to say no on this one. I'm going to say no. I'm not knocking him. I just don't think he's big enough for that job to win the league.
Okay. Next name, Flick.
Hansi Flick.
Hansi Flick. Good enough?
I see him as a bit more of a solid option than I would a Nagelsmann.
Yep.
I think he's definitely better than Arteta. Yes, I'm going to go with yes on that one. I'm going to go on borderline, but bearing in mind the caveat that I said just now of I don't think anyone just walks in and wins it immediately. But yes.
Question about him. What did he do? He was the manager of Hoffenheim for 5 years until 2005. And then he wasn't a manager again until 2019. Was he? He must have been like a coach or an assistant manager somewhere because it just disappears on this year. But yeah, I mean, he's an interesting one. It's so hard when someone's at Bayern Munich to look at that and say how good were they, because even their fouled managers have a high win percentage, win trophies. This one, we know this guy's good enough.
Just so you know, by the way, to answer your question, I've just looked at it. So he was the Germany assistant from 06 to 14. So that would have been Joachim Löw's assistant.
Yeah, Joachim Löw. Right, that's why. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
He's been around the block. He's been national manager, national assistant manager, Bayern Munich. Yeah. This is a guy that if he went to Arsenal, it wouldn't be like rabbit in the headlights, right? This is a guy he's been at a bigger club than Arsenal, right? He's
makes sense. So this next name, is he good enough? This one is, are Arsenal big enough
to get him?
To get Ancelotti?
No.
Now.
No, he's just signed a new contract at Real Madrid. No, I can't imagine any reason why Ancelotti would want to up sticks and move to Arsenal and go into a title race with Pep Guardiola. I truly don't think he would. I don't know about you. He's just on a new contract, Terry. What would be the upside for him to go to Arsenal? What would be the upside to him going anywhere? You're at Real Madrid.
So Arsenal were big enough to get Ancelotti because Everton got him. However, he ain't leaving Real Madrid. He ain't leaving Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Arsenal. In fact, I don't think he's leaving Real Madrid for anybody.
Agreed.
Maybe if Man City was available. Why would you walk away from one of the most powerful jobs, one of the best jobs in the world, for anybody else other than potentially Manchester City? But even then, City ain't got the prowess and the heritage and the sort of the badge of honor that being the rare. No, they can't. So that's another one of those names where I say to Arsenal fans, forget about him because you ain't getting him right now. Get him out your head. Get him out your head. Can't happen.
Look, I know the answer would be, oh, well, hang on. Like you said, he went to Everton, but different time, different circumstances. Look how quickly he left Everton to go to Real Madrid. Look, there are certain clubs in the world, when you leave them, you're only going backwards. Real Madrid are that club. Who leaves Real Madrid? I'll ask this question. Now, there might be a few. Who leaves Real Madrid as either a player or a manager and goes upwards?
Very, very few people. Very few, it used to be the same for my club, Man United, back in the day. The only player in my lifetime who genuinely left that went up was Cristiano Ronaldo, and he left at 24. He went to Madrid. So yeah, it's very few players do. Now, when you leave Man United, everybody gets better. But yeah, I hear you on that. Robin, Iron Robin's a good shout. Iron Robin's a good shout. To be fair, Beckham. Stop it.
Iron Robin, where did Iron Robin go from Real Madrid?
Bayern Munich.
Yeah, is that up?
But is it
up?
Yeah, but he went up. Like he was probably better.
He went up.
Yeah, he went up.
But there's a difference, right? So here's the difference, Terry. People can be the best player at another club. When you are signed and you have to be that guy at Real Madrid, the parameters change. The pressure changes. Yeah, look at an Eden Hazard. You could be the best player in the Premier League, right? Best player at Chelsea. You go to Real Madrid, they want blood from day one. Perform. I'm not saying Robin's like that, but I think Robin was a class act. But I don't see going to Bayern Munich as a step up from Real Madrid. Just my opinion.
No, I don't think that's a step up. I think that he was better there. I think like Wesley Sneijder's another example. I think he had a much better Inter career than he did Real Madrid career, but the club is nowhere. In my opinion, Inter Milan are big, but you're not Real Madrid. There's no other Real Madrids. There's one of them. There's one of them bad boys. But let's go to some more of these super chats that have come in here. This one says Arteta's time in a different league. Klopp and Pep, not Premier League rookies. Makes sense. Arteta can't be sacked because he still doesn't have a complete team as of yet. No striker and missing a centre-back with Saliba still holds to fill. That's from a Man United fan. I disagree with that.
When we're saying he doesn't have a complete team, I mean, he's been there nearly 4.5, 5 years. How long...
So the rebuild's complete. So this is my view on Arsenal. The rebuild is done. There's always going to be holes because Man City are not in a rebuild, but most summers there's a hole or a player you need fit to replace or something new or dynamic that you need. You're never going to get to a situation where you get to a summer and go, there's not one type of signing that we need. It's never happened. You know, Fergie, look how long he dominated. He signed players every year. The rebuild at Arsenal's done. I think they are now in a comfortable position. And what I said at the start of the campaign, it's a win-win year for them. They either win with Arteta or they dismiss him and bring somebody, and to do it well enough, they bring somebody else in who wins with them because they're ready now, in my opinion, to be able to sack and just plot somebody else in and continue. They don't have to go, right, 80% of this squad's got to be sold in the next 2 years. It's going to be another £750 million rebuilding and going backwards and forwards. They can just keep stepping forward if they get it right, in my opinion. This here says, bring Lee back, bring Lee. Listen, Lee's doing his own thing for now. And Lee will be back at some point on the terrace, I'm sure. It's all still good. It's a bit like Gavin and Stacey. We're going to leave you wanting more. If you haven't watched that show, you're a loser. Arsenal fans had Martinelli and Saka over Bale and Isco in a combined Madrid 11. Of course, they overrate them. Did they really? No.
Listen,
over Bale.
Wow. I've seen. It's not just Arsenal fans; it's all fans, Terry. And I get it. People want to back their players, but at what level do you get of backing your players where it's just purely you don't believe what you're saying anymore? Like when Arsenal fans say Saka over Salah, can we be honest here? It's not a competition. It's not a competition.
No.
Like Salah is the best right winger in the country. Wide forward, whatever you want to call it.
I'd rather sign Saka now.
Of course, because of his age.
Yeah, that's it.
Sure. But that's a different argument, right?
Mo Salah is going into the GOAT conversations of Premier League players. That's what he's heading towards. So, yeah, he's achieved more, won more, scored more. Yeah, there's no comparison.
Can you give me 1 second? Sorry.
Of course can, mate. I want to let the viewers know something as well. I just read this from The Athletic. This has just come through from The Athletic, and they have said that Man United have drawn up a 4-strong wish list for a new striker in January. The list is, beautiful. That list comprises of Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting. That guy's agent is phenomenal, by the way. Thomas Muller, at his age. Timo Werner, and Garassi, who's having one good season. That's our 4-man list, you know. My club is dead. my club is so dead. Like Thomas Muller's a legend of the game. But man's old. Timo Werner, Terry. No, Goldbridge hasn't made this up. Like, big up Goldbridge. Hope he's well. Goldbridge hasn't made this up. This is in The Athletic. John Cross has put this out. Goldbridge didn't make up these Timo Werner rumors. My word. Back to the super chats here. This says system and player brought, not Rice, not good enough. Okay, fair enough. Would the Prem be better without Klopp and Pep?
No. Why? Surely you want the best managers in the league, right? I don't know. It's just my opinion. Don't you want the best? You want the best players. You want the best managers.
I look at it this way. I'm gonna answer it in this way. It would be better for everybody else if they weren't here. So the Premier League needs them. neutrals need it. Remember, there's millions of people in this country that watch the Premier League that don't support any club, because there are millions of fans of the lower level clubs who watch the Premier League still. They want them here. But if you're an Arsenal fan, Everton fan, United fan, whoever it may be, Chelsea fan, of course you want them gone, or you want them at your club, but you don't want them here. But the Prem wouldn't be better without them, in my personal opinion. Amro here says, if Man United's new owners been Rashford or Bruno, I think it would send a big message that helps the club long term, sets a tone of the players being not being bigger than the club. Do you think Man United need to make, based on this super chat, do you think Man United need to make a kind of sacrificial lamb type sale?
I feel listen, I don't know whether it needs to be like a kind of sacrificial lamb, but I feel like this all comes back to what we were talking about. You can sell Bruno. What's it going to do? You can sell Rashford. What it's going to do? You've got to get a manager in at the same time as a director of football that says, I don't want these players. Then you've got your sacrificial lambs. You can't just have the managers coming in and going, right, see you later. Is Ten Hag staying?
Yeah.
Is a new manager coming in? I don't know. It's not that simple.
I'm someone who actually thinks we need to send the message. However, where I'm convinced the other way, say we employ Simeone, say we employ Paul Mitchell, Blanc, and Dan Ashworth, and they all come in and go, love this guy, he is staying. Then as a fan, I'm, for the time being, with a new regime, new decision makers, new manager, I'm going to say, I'm going to sit back and see what you guys do. I'm going to judge you on your decisions. That's what we're here. I may disagree with it, but yeah, listen, if everyone new that gets recruited into the club says, no, we have to keep him, then I'm kind of all for it. But yeah, it's a good question.
Has to be wanted by the manager and whatever regime you've got. For example, at the moment, if Ten Hag is the manager that you have got planned for the next 2-3 years, it's his decision. If they are thinking of letting Ten Hag go, then you've got to consult with a new manager that's coming in, right? I don't know. Look, it's why you've got to get your ducks in a row. It's why Man United really have to get their ducks in a row.
No, I totally agree with that, mate. So much hate from many Gunners. Stand back and you can see we have a very good team. Get a striker, a midfielder, and defense, and we cook. Please send Raya back. Yeah, the Raya one hasn't kind of gone. Rafael Leao to Liverpool on. Is it on? Is that an on? Listen, I'm not convinced by Rafael Leao. I'll be honest with you. I think he's
see a lot more. I need to see a lot more. He seems very inconsistent to me.
I would rather
didn't he just sign a new contract in the summer? Didn't he sign a new contract?
I'd rather sign Elise from Palace, personally. I genuinely would. I'd trust it more than him. What about Arsenal loan Phillips and play him next to Rice? I mean, I don't think City would loan him to Arsenal, personally.
No.
That's my view. And oh my God, I've seen the most beautiful sight in the world. Casemiro and Lissandro Martinez back training. Do you know what's mad, right? I should hate my club, and I do hate parts of it, but I still love it so much. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah. Well, it's your team. You're always going to love... I think people... That's the thing, right? When people get frustrated with their team or criticize whatever, it's not because they don't love their team. It's the opposite. It's because they want the best for their team. It's because they're frustrated.
Yes. No, I agree. I do agree. Look, I want to thank... That's true. I see it. Someone here says, what do you mean fake? There's the pictures. It's real pictures, and it's not AI. It's not AI. Listen, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in today, as ever. I appreciate it a lot. Sav, always a pleasure to speak football with you, me old mucker. Please hit the like button before you leave, people. If you haven't done that yet, first question is why not? Get that done. Make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell notification button. I know not everybody has done that yet. I still don't get why, but you make sure you know when we go live. Get that done. About 300 more people do it this month, which is amazing, but keep making sure that is done. But until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we will see you all again very, very soon.